So, you want to start a business, or maybe you have a business that isn't quite doing what you expected. Well, you're in the right place. My name is Scott Berkwin, and I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I've been helping small business owners like you live a better life. Owning your own business is about freedom. That's what makes this country great, so who wouldn't want to be their own boss? Sometimes if you just act like you're a subcontractor instead of an employee, you do enjoy your job more, but when you really are your own boss, it's quite rewarding. There's something about freedom. Now, some of you might want a side business so you can just make a little more money with your hobby, or at least help pay for the hobby. Like my brother, he started restoring cars while he worked full-time. After he retired though, it became his full-time business. Kind of a cool thing. Now, maybe you want a lifestyle business, like a yoga studio. You aren't trying to get rich, but you don't want to work for anyone else. Maybe you might want to be the next Bill Gates or Mike Dell. No matter where you want to go, you're in the right place to start. So that you know you're not alone in this, let me tell you a little bit about me and why I think I can help you. My first job was delivering newspapers on my bike. I didn't get paid. It was only a weekly newspaper. What I got was half of the money I collected. It was really an independent sales job more than a paper route. Now, looking back, I learned a lot about that because I learned about myself. So as they say, one thing important to do as a business owner is know thyself. I am the firstborn son to my mother and the oldest grandchild on her side of the family, but I'm also the second son on my dad's side. So I mostly exhibit traits of the firstborn, but sometimes the traits of the secondborn pop up. Being the firstborn, we tend to think that it's more important to look good than make money. So when I started my route, not so good. My parents' divorce ended my newspaper delivery career, thankfully. When they divorced, my mom took over my dad's hobby business selling Mustang parts. She really didn't want it. I thought I could do something cool with it, so I did the firstborn thing and stepped up to the plate. It was a mail order auto parts business, but I was just 15. I couldn't even drive, so obviously I didn't do very well at it. I didn't understand the customer. I didn't know what Mustang owners wanted. I made just enough money to simply close it down. Now, with that business behind me, I became an Air Force security policeman. I didn't have a high school diploma because I had zero direction in life and couldn't see wasting time in high school. I just wanted a better life like everyone else. And at that point in my life, 3 hots and a cot felt better than high school. Very quickly though, I learned I was wrong. Walking circles around airplanes at 3 o'clock in the morning, I realized I needed to do something. Anything for that matter. I got very lucky though. I had a great boss that helped me get my GED and get started in business school. For a while, I even worked at places like Stanford Business School, Apple Computer, and AirTouch. Now, you might not know AirTouch, but today it's Verizon. When I was there, the company had about 100 people, and in 2 years, it was a multi-billion-dollar public company. I've been part of every type of business you can imagine. Now, the first rule of business is that all people over 30 don't necessarily have business wisdom. That's why I wanted to give you a little history. That wisdom only comes with age if you're paying attention and get the right experience. Sadly, I didn't start gaining experience till I was in my 20s, so I got a little start at the end of it. My dad was a pilot and a dentist. He fit every joke about buy high, sell low that was ever told about a pilot or a dentist. Basically, he had zero business or financial sense. Not the best starting point for me. Good thing he was a good dentist and a good pilot. Now, thankfully over the years, I did get to see the inner workings of some great companies up close. That knowledge helped me build several profitable businesses. And one flop, I got to admit. You learn from your mistakes. You learn a lot doing all of that, and there is a good reason that I keep selling and changing businesses. But I'll get to that later. Right now, it's about you. The first question I have for you is why start a business? Don't worry, this isn't a test. And there is a download of the questionnaire that you can get at berkwingroup.com/bizstarter, so you don't have to answer right now. These are just things to start thinking about. That leads to my second question. What problem are you solving for your customer? You'd be amazed how many overworked and underpaid small business owners can't answer this question. Going along with that is, who is your customer? So one guy that owned a small auto parts store called me up for some help, and I asked him this question, and he said, I sell car parts to everyone. Well, when I responded that even people without cars, he looked a little confused. So next, if you get past that question, I'll ask you're sure if there's enough customers that have that problem. You know, you really can't sell ice to Eskimos, and you can't sell home theaters in the swamps of Louisiana. There just isn't enough electricity out there. So, one of the things that you need to keep in mind when you look at the customers leads us to the third question. Can you solve that problem and still make enough profit? You have to make enough to pay the bills. Even if you're a nonprofit, nonprofits have to pay the bills. Business isn't evil. It's how everyone pays the bills, even you as a small business owner. Now, you might have heard that 4 out of 5 businesses fail in the first 5 years. Don't let that scare you off. It isn't quite true. But it is true that most don't make it past 5 years. In my experience, though, there's 5 big reasons businesses fail, and they're easy to avoid. The first and biggest one is simple: not enough money. Why do you think so many people are on Shark Tank begging for money every week? Not enough money. If you think a business will take $1,000 to start, think again. It will probably take $5,000. I'll give you an example. Recently, a guy presented me with a big name franchise offer, and it said he needed $300,000 investment in order to get in. Seemed a little bit low given what he was buying, so I did some digging for him. The last thing I wanted to do was take on a client that couldn't pay me because the franchise company already took all his money. Sure enough, the aspiring franchisee was also going to need the ability to swing $1 million line of credit. That isn't as easy to do as you might think for somebody that had $300,000. So, after you pay this big non-refundable deposit to the franchise company, guess what? The fine print gets a lot bigger and a lot easier to read. Now, second reason that I see businesses fail is people competing with their old boss. Some years ago, I was teaching at a major industry trade show, and I asked the class, mostly new owners, why are you in business? And 2/3 of the room agreed that their old boss made too much money and they could do it for less. Well, guess what? They can't. And 2 years later, most of those owners were back at work for another company or an independent contractor to yet a third company. Beating your boss is not a reason to start a business. Now, reason number 3, this one's a wild one. Business owners sometimes buy a business because they thought it could make money. One guy bought a restaurant so he could make money. Because the restaurant already made money, then he thought he could just play in his son's band a couple nights a week. Well, after he bought the restaurant, he added a stage for his son's band to play on. He didn't want to be a restaurant owner, he wanted to be a musician with his son. Now, I've seen something like this over and over again. I've seen it with people that own pest control companies, car washes, restaurants, yogurt shops, pet supply stores. They think the business makes money, so they buy in, hoping to be an investor and not have to do anything in the business. I got bad news for you. That's what Wall Street's for. Go buy stock in Apple Computer. Don't try to buy Apple. It doesn't make sense. Or don't even buy an Apple dealer if you don't want to sell it. Just go buy the stock. That's what it's for. If you think you want to own a business, you want to buy in, but you need to have that desire to solve whatever problems the existing customers have. Back to that restaurant with the music store, the customers were looking for a quiet place to have a burger, and suddenly they're at a live concert. It just didn't make sense. And part of that is that the owner didn't have the money to turn it into a live music venue. Now, problem number 4, owners are trying to solve a problem that belongs to them when either the solution was already out there and they didn't look hard enough, or there weren't enough customers with that same problem. So, or they couldn't pay for it. That's another little deal that goes back to number one. Just because you love your cat, it doesn't mean you should open a pet store. Honestly, my failed business was a bit of number 3 and number 4. Now, the fifth reason that I see businesses fail, and this is the easy one, this is one I can help with. It's that the owner is trying to do everything themselves. Sometimes it's a result of number 1, or at least thinking number 1, that they don't have enough money or enough profit. When I sold my last business and I attempted to semi-retire, I couldn't. So I decided to build a business that took care of something most owners have a love-hate relationship with. If you think you still want to start a business, because this didn't scare you off, if you're 90% sure you won't fall into the first 4 categories, it's now time for your first homework lesson. You can download the questionnaire at berkwingroup.com/bizstarter and even ask some questions in the thread if you're not sure how to answer your questionnaire. I check in a couple of times each week, so I can help you out. Before you start that business, do the worksheet. This is all free. Get it right. Come back next week where we'll discuss the different ways to set up your business. And if this didn't scare you off, I think you might just be ready to start a business and establish your independence. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.